Sebastian, were you surprised that Kimi started on Instagram, and are you planning to follow the example?
Yes and no, are my answers. Finnish answers, short.
But you are on social media.
No?
I think I'm following someone.
Yeah. Well, to whoever it is, congratulations. I hereby announce my retirement from Formula One by the end of the 2022 season. Probably I should start with a long list of people to thank now, but I feel it is more important to explain the reasons behind my decision. I love this sport. It has been central to my life since I can remember. But as much as there's life on track, there's my life off track too. Being a racing driver has never been my sole identity. I very much believe in identity by who we are and how we treat others, rather than what we do. Who am I? I'm Sebastian. I believe in change and progress, and that every little bit makes a difference. I am an optimist, and I believe people are good. Next to racing, I have grown a family, and I love being around them. I have grown other interests outside Formula One. My passion for racing and Formula One comes with lots of time spent away from them and takes a lot of energy. Committing to my passion the way I did, and the way I think it is right, does no longer go side by side with my wish to be a great father and husband. I look forward to race down unknown tracks, and I will be finding new challenges. The marks I left on track will stay until time and rain will wash them away. New ones will be put down. Tomorrow belongs to those shaping today. The next corner is in good hands, as the new generation has already turned in. I believe there is still a race to win. Farewell, and thanks for letting me share the track with you. I loved every bit of it.
A true legend of our sport and one of my all-time favourite drivers is hanging up his helmet and his boots at the end of this season and will likely never return. After starting with a go-kart at the age of only 3, Sebastian Vettel would go on to have a career in F1 that spanned 17 years, 5 teams, 122 podiums, 53 wins and 4 world titles. The stats simply speak for themselves. Even starting out in karting, the young Vettel would show himself to be a talented driver who was blazingly fast. And after an impressive karting career, he was flung into an even more impressive season in Formula BMW, before getting to go wheel to wheel with Hamilton in Formula 3. BMW were so impressed with Vettel that after Kubica's scary crash in Canada, he got his racing debut at the US Grand Prix in 2007 for BMW Sauber.
Sebastian Vettel, on his debut in the BMW, managed to keep his nose clean so far, and he's just set his personal fastest middle sector, so beginning to get the rhythm together now, Vettel.
He didn't disappoint as he scored points in his first race, enough for Red Bull sponsors to propel him to a full-time drive with their junior Toro Rosso team. Sebastian Vettel was now quite literally off to the races.
A lot of new situations, you can feel the car feels completely different with high fuel, low fuel, and you just have to learn how the car reacts in all these situations. But overall, I think we enjoy it.
It had been a difficult start to the season for Vettel, having been the only driver not to finish a single race after the first 4 races of the season, retiring on the first lap of 3 of them. His luck was starting to change though, as he finished 5th in Monaco after qualifying 17th, giving him the first points of the season. Something began to unlock in Vettel's talent, as the Toro Rosso technical director Giorgio Ascanelli explained that something had changed at the European Grand Prix in Valencia. He said suddenly Vettel understood something about how to drive an F1 car quickly. It made a huge difference not only to the speed he could unlock, but also to his ability to be able to do this consistently. It was at the Italian Grand Prix at Monza though that once again young Sebastian would make history. At a wet Monza, conditions in which Vettel thrived, Kimi and Lewis chose intermediates which they couldn't switch on properly in qualifying. This opened up the field for Vettel to put in an absolutely stunning lap to put him first, ahead of his teammate in fourth. This made him the youngest pole sitter ever in Formula 1. More importantly, it put him on the front of the grid for what would clearly be a spectacular Italian Grand Prix that Sunday. Luckily for Vettel, who was sitting on pole in a car that had no business being there, except for the fact that the team is based in Italy, having been Minardi before it, with a Ferrari engine strapped to the back of the car, the only real hope he had of victory was that rain would allow the pace deficit of being in such a slow car compared to the front runners could now be closed and overcome by his sheer unleashed talent and the clean air in front of him. He led out of the gate, running an absolutely flawless race in tricky conditions which caused so many, including his future teammate Webber, to struggle. He led for the majority of the race, only falling back due to pit stops before finishing an incredible 12.5 seconds in front of Heikki Kovalainen, who, lest we forget, was driving the same McLaren that would propel Lewis Hamilton to his first World Championship that very year. This was a drive that was nothing short of spectacular from Sebastian Vettel, making him the youngest Grand Prix winner in the history of the sport at the time. And while this record may have been broken since, Vettel can rest easy on the fact he did it in subpar machinery and scored Scuderia Toro Rosso's only ever victory. At the time, even team boss Gerhard Berger was not shy about his adoration for Vettel, saying, as he proved today, he can win races, but he's going to win world championships. The victory is also what led the German media to begin dubbing Vettel as Baby Schumi. He was one step closer to the dream of living up to his hero. The 2009 season was not only a fresh start for Sebastian Vettel at what had become the big team of the Red Bull duo, even though Toro Rosso got the first win, but it was also a fresh start in Formula 1 as it signalled the beginning of a brand new set of regulations. A chance for teams outside the big teams of McLaren and Ferrari to be thrust to the top. Lucky for Vettel and Red Bull, unlike 2022, it really did mix up the order from the outset. It also was the first season designed to give the smaller teams a leg up by restricting wind tunnel time, banning in-season testing, and putting limits on the amount of engines each driver could use. It was time for Red Bull to strike. Sadly for Red Bull though, another team with even less resources would go on to get the regulations absolutely on point from race 1. That team was of course Braun GP, which was purchased from Honda by Ross Brawn. Jenson Button used that car to win the World Championship, and Brawn took the Constructors' Championship as well. But by the last 3 races of the season, it was clear that Red Bull, and moreover Sebastian Vettel, had taken the development and driving lead. It was all set up for 2010. The 2010 season was definitely an odd one, even off the track, with the budget cap plan being worked on through 2009, almost causing the biggest teams to threaten to withdraw from the championship. Thankfully they didn't, and a budget cap wouldn't be brought in until 2021. And luckily there's been no big news about any cost cap issues since. On track though, there were 3 new teams, and luckily for us, 4 drivers would fight for the title into the finale. One of those drivers, the young Sebastian Vettel, hadn't led the championship at any point throughout the year. However, going into Abu Dhabi, the stage was set for an epic fight, with Vettel, Webber, Alonso and Hamilton all mathematically in the fight for the championship. After a solid qualifying session, Vettel managed to get pole position and give himself the best chance at the championship. However, sadly for Vettel, even if he were to win the race, the championship win would be dependent on where his competitors finished behind him. Luckily for Vettel, he did finish first. Now it was just the excruciating wait for the other drivers behind to cross the line, which Hamilton did next, coming in second. But as he entered the weekend with only 221 points, even with the fastest lap point, this left him 16 behind Vettel. Hamilton was out. Now it came down to where Webber and Alonso, who entered the weekend ahead with 238 and 246 points respectively, started the race as the favourites. Sadly for Webber, this wasn't his weekend and he qualified behind Alonso, a position where he'd stay for the rest of the weekend, finishing on 242 points, 14 behind Vettel. It all came down to Alonso, with which Ferrari had decided to put on an early pit strategy. This should have been the best way to win the championship. However, there was an unforeseen flaw in this plan. That flaw was the fact that he'd come out behind rookie Vitaly Petrov, driving ironically for his old team, Renault. The young rookie defended like Alonso, and kept the two-time world champion behind him for the rest of the race. The Spaniard finished 7th, 4 points away from the title, and Vettel became the youngest world champion in Formula 1 history.
Sebastian Vettel, you are the world champion! The world champion, well done, enjoy it! You are the man! Yes!
Sebastian Vettel had never been shy about the fact that his hero was Michael Schumacher, the driver who had also been his mentor, and thus when Ferrari came calling after Vettel's difficult 2014 season, he jumped at the opportunity.
Clinching that third title in a race like this today, where lots of action and lots of defeats in a certain moment, but then fighting back in getting up where he'd been, and I think he deserves that championship. He's been working hard for it, and I'm proud of it.
Well, I think it's very simple. Coming from Germany, when I started karting, Michael won his first world championship, so it has always been Michael that I've been looking up to, and then obviously followed him very close when he moved to Ferrari, and created a winning team for many years that had so much success. So it's been a huge inspiration, and therefore closing the loop, racing for Ferrari now myself, I think is definitely a dream that came true.
On a hot day in 2015, Vettel was entering his second race with his new team, Ferrari. However, it didn't look like this could be his day from the start, given Lewis Hamilton had popped it on pole. Lewis Hamilton got away well, while Nico Rosberg tried to challenge Sebastian for second place. But the Ferrari was able to come out on top in this fight, and Vettel was able to stay with the Mercedes of Hamilton for the first few laps. And then luckily for Vettel, on lap 4, Marcus Ericsson broke too late and spun into turn 1. This caused him to retire from the race, and a safety car was brought out. All but 7 cars went into the pits, and this included both of the Mercedes, while Sebastian Vettel and Ferrari decided to stay out. When racing got back underway on lap 7, with 4 drivers putting breathing room between him and Hamilton, both Mercedes cars though managed to make their way through the field, with Hamilton overtaking Hülkenberg for second position by the end of lap 10. And now there was 10 seconds for him to chase up to the leader, Sebastian Vettel. Rosberg meanwhile had reached third position on lap 14, while Hamilton was still unable to make significant gains on Sebastian Vettel in front. Vettel came in for his second stop on lap 18, handing the lead back to Lewis Hamilton. When he rejoined in third place, he began to rapidly close down on second place Rosberg. He was making amazing use of his fresher tyres. He overtook Rosberg on lap 22 and set about hunting down the leading Hamilton. However, Hamilton pitted in on lap 24 for his second pit stop. Vettel didn't make his second and final pit stop until lap 38, which then handed the lead back to Lewis Hamilton, who came in for another pit stop 1 lap later and emerged 12 seconds behind Sebastian Vettel in third place. His teammate Rosberg made a pit stop on lap 41, which allowed Hamilton to pass, and he started then to close in on Vettel. However, Vettel was just too fast that day and was putting in consistently brilliant laps, and he finished a full 10 seconds ahead of Lewis Hamilton. This was Vettel's 40th victory and his first since the 2013 Brazilian Grand Prix. And more importantly, it was his first with Ferrari, who hadn't won since the Spanish Grand Prix in 2013.
Yes, great drive, Ferrari's back. Oh, mi senti? Mi senti? Grazie, 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 dai, forza Ferrari!
Whatever happened in his career from here on out was simply a bonus. He had his championships, and now he had his win with the Scarlet Red team. The same team that propelled his hero to 5 world titles. And throughout all of this, Vettel had cemented himself as a legend of the sport. One of the best performers in Formula 1 history. And while he sadly leaves us this year, there is no doubt that the German's F1 spirit will live on through his enormous fan base and through the legend that he's left in the paddock as a driver who is loved by all.
We have fun, and we obviously been pretty successful. But then if we do the singles, yes, we want to fight each other as well. And but this combination is a very truthful and special, because in this world of how you call it, ego that you have to have, it's difficult to find a relationship like this, and rather special.
I'm really happy for him, and if somebody can break all this record, then I preferred him to beat him than somebody else.
I'm sure that there was an awful lot of you thinking about your great friend today while you were racing around and beating everyone.
Yeah, I mean, we started this journey together. He was helping me out most of the time in the beginning, so I was able to learn a lot from him. I think we all would have loved to have him here. So I think, in a way, you know, thinking about motorsport, racing, Formula 1, our thoughts are with him. So yeah, but overall, I think, yeah, as I said, I was probably smart enough to pay attention when he was teaching lessons, so it helped today.